Well, nominees for top court positions are being interviewed by the Judicial Service Commission this week. While many of the higher courts are fairly well run, concerns have been raised about a backlog at the lower courts. Well, we welcome back Mbekezeli Benjamin of Judicial Matter, who weighs in because ultimately Magistrates Matter too. Mbekezeli, thank you so much for joining us. The focus really yesterday was on the Apex Court, and they're dealing with very high-level matters of jurisprudence, constitutional amendments, etc. But the bread and butter issues are really at the Magistrates Court and affect you and me in many ways that perhaps a higher court such as the Constitutional Court may not necessarily.
Good morning, Annika, and good morning to the viewers. You're quite right that the issue of delayed judgments is an issue of bread and butter, basically. It affects more people in the Magistrates Court, as you say, because that's where most people will ever enter a courtroom, is the Magistrates Court, which is the lower court. But what came out during the interviews yesterday is that the issue, it cuts across, and it cuts across the court system, both at the lower courts and at the higher courts, and particularly at the Constitutional Court level, where a lot of the JSC commissioners raise concerns about the length of time it takes to deliver judgments. Now, one of the legacies of Chief Justice Mogoeng is a new set of norms and standards, which requires that courts deliver judgments within a limited period of time. Usually it's 3 months, possibly extended to 6 months. And the Magistrates Court, by and large, try and maintain that. The problem comes in the higher court, and that's why the issue was raised quite sharply in the interviews yesterday.
I'm just looking at the numbers, Mbekezeli. It says here that the Constitutional Court has 7 late judgments. But if you go to other courts, 97 courts in the country had outstanding judgments, and 879 of those were reserved judgments. What kind of impact does that have on people who are waiting those judgments?
It has a huge impact, Annika, because the issue of reserved judgments, it affects people in many different ways. The cases that go to the high court are cases like your serious rapes, your serious murders, issues that relate to the attachment of your house or your repossession of your house, divorces. Those kinds of cases affect people in a very, very serious way. And the longer it takes for people to receive a justice on those issues, the less confidence they have in the justice system and the rule of law. So it is a huge issue of importance to our constitutional democracy generally.
Why do you think there is this backlog at some of the lower courts?
So the backlog, well, there are a number of reasons for the backlog, one of which is just a huge amount of workload. In many courts, we just don't have enough judges for the number of cases that are dealt with. The other issue is sometimes there are complexities in the case that require a judge to do a little bit more research, and there are not enough resources for that research to be taken. So the issue is really about money primarily, but also just the capacity of the court system to function properly. For the last few years, at least the last 5 years, there have been serious budget cuts on the judiciary, and we see this in the number of reserved judgments that are steadily increasing over the years.
Mbekezeli, just before we go, about the Constitutional Court Chief Justice job, am I right that the long list is out, but the short list still needs to be made and be put before a panel, before I think Navi Pillay?
Yes, so yesterday the presidency released a long list, and the long list is basically all the candidates who applied and who managed to put all their documents together. So those 8 that we see are those basically who were able to cross the T's and dot the I's. Now, between now and the 15th, the public has an opportunity to raise objections, written objections to any of those candidates, and those objections will be considered by the Pillay panel, which will draw up the final shortlist of between 3 and 5 names, and that will come out on the 29th of October.
All right, thank you so much again to Mbekezeli Benjamin of Judges Matter. Well, still